We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. Those values and principles move us to remember that we in Northampton inhabit unceded land of the Pecumtuck peoples. Our values and principles remind us to acknowledge our responsibility to face the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, even as we affirm and celebrate the legacies that inspire us. We are here to support and celebrate one another and to renew ourselves with hope and gratitude and new resolve. It's wonderful to see you all now that today all being online. If you are new or returning after time away, welcome. Please feel free to fill out a welcome card, which will appear in the chat and which allows us to put you on our email contact list. We ask everyone to please keep your videos off in order to help the technology work as smoothly as possible. Today's service comes from clergy, religious educators, and lay members of Unitarian Universalist congregations in other parts of the country. It is part of a new tradition called 30 Days of Love that begins with the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday and ends around Valentine's Day. There will be greeting time and then Zoom social hour after the service. I hope you'll join us. And now we will start the service.
Welcome, dear ones, to this Side with Love Sunday. This worship service is the capstone to this year's 30 Days of Love, which is our annual opportunity to collectively nurture our spirits, deepen our understanding, and side with love by living out our values as we work together for collective liberation. As we head into 2022, I know your hearts are tired. My heart is tired. Here we are 2 years into this global pandemic that has taken so many lives and caused so much isolation and hardship for all of us, but especially for those who were already impacted by systemic inequity and oppression. Our elected officials continue to fail to pass national legislation to ensure voting rights, a strong social safety net for the most vulnerable, and support for struggling communities, businesses, and families. Culture wars and disinformation over everything from vaccines to abortion to critical race theory are everywhere. Too often it feels overwhelming and impossible. And yet when my heart feels heavy, I pause and I think about all of you, my Unitarian Universalist siblings around the world who continue to show up every day in 1,000 ways to manifest love in the world. When congregations are providing sanctuary for immigrants or sheltering refugees, I am hopeful. When networks of UUs partner with people in Texas to access abortion care, I feel filled with hope. And when hundreds of volunteers bring their skills to organize together through our Side with Love squads and organizing school cohorts, I am filled with hope. When UUs put their bodies on the line in direct action with water protectors, or Black Lives Matter, or the Poor People's Campaign, I am filled with hope. Because I feel our power and I know that hope grows from being in the struggle and from being in the work of love and justice. So however you come to the work of being human right now, exhausted, frustrated, angry, generous, inspired, on fire, focused, despondent, struggling, passionate, however you come to the work of being human right now, as you are willing, as you are able, I invite you to bring your spirit, to open your heart, and to lean into the callings of love and justice, and lean into the power and strength of your wider faith community, of all of us as Unitarian Universalists. You are welcome here in Unitarian Universalism. You are precious. Your work and your life and your heart and your shared faith has the power to heal and connect and sustain us, even in the midst when we are all collectively experiencing so much exhaustion in this time. In that spirit, in the spirit of our collective strength and power, I invite you into this time of worship. I invite you into this time to slow down, to remember that we are all in this together, that this is no time to go it alone. To slow down and remind ourselves of the vision of a world made whole, in which all people are free and thriving. May this worship be a blessing to your spirit, just as you are a blessing to this world. Come, let us worship together.
Grace and peace to you. What a joy and an honor it is to have this opportunity to share with each of you on this sturdy day of love service. I am so blessed to share with you in song, and as we sing these particular songs and melodies, we reminisce on the matriarchs and patriarchs who really embodied the spirits of these spirituals hymned from what we know as the blues. The blues were simply songs about life and some of the things that various individuals would have to endure as they continue to live through life's journey. Journey with me from 1619 when the first slave ship landed in Jamestown, Virginia. There, that slave ship boat being called Jesus. There, individuals who were the strongest of the strongest, bound knee, foot, ankle, hand together as they traveled through the Middle Passage to an unknown land. But thanks be to the Almighty that sustained them. And from their experiences there from Virginia as they build the South and as they continue to make progress, they were called to do certain things. Those things that allow for them to have to work from can't see in the morning until can't see at night and laboring tirelessly. But it was the songs and the music that was birthed through those experiences that gave to them hope, that gave to them love. That same music was then translated through the 1960s, the 1619s and the 1700s and 18th century down to the 19th century, even when we get to the Jim Crow South. As we sing these songs, it is important that we understand the content and context of them. This first song is Hush, Listen, Somebody's Calling My Name. Could that somebody be justice? Could that somebody be love, freedom? Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Join with me in hymn number 1040, singing the journey. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, listen, somebody's calling my name. Hush, listen, somebody's calling my name. Hush, sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Well, it sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. It sounds like freedom. Well, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Well, it sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Well, it sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. It sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Well, and soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Oh, soon one morning, death come a creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death come a creeping in my room. Oh my Lord, shall I do? Well, now I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. Oh, I'm so glad trouble don't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Yes.
Before we touch the match, before the chalice is lit, we remember the potential for the flame is always there. Even when the wick is stiff, the wax smooth and solid, the candle remembers what it is to burn. Because once you have been on fire, you will always remember how you were on fire once. And some part of you will always know all it would take is one spark for the flame to leap and dance again, for you to burn clear and bright in the soft velvet darkness. The potential for more love, too, is always there. Even when the losses are too great to bear, the weariness bone deep and stretching forward and backward through time and the generations, the heart remembers what it is to love. Because once you have been in love with a person, a patch of earth, a vision of freedom for your children's children, you will always remember how you were loved, how you were love once. And all it would take is one connection, one act of grace or selfless courage for you to be loved back into being, clear and bright, abundantly, fiercely, lovingly alive.
What if I only had 30 days to love? 30 days to love this life, these people, this earth.
What if I only had 30 days for praise, for admiration, for reverence? 30 days to love my God.
What if I only had 30 days for lament, for hopelessness, for loss? 30 days to be with the absence that proclaims the space for love.
I would love like an action. I would love with my full, courageous body.
I would love without apology. I would love with my full, courageous spirit.
I would love like the holy. I would love with my full, courageous presence.
Without apology.
Like an action.
Like the holy.
And it would hurt. And it wouldn't be easy. You know this. It couldn't be easy.
And it would be confusing, like a pandemic is confusing, because it would wipe away everything I had come to expect.
And the scarcity. The scarcity of time and space for love would make my heart pound with excitement and disquiet. But for those 30 days, love would be unfolding.
Without apology.
Like an action.
Like the holy.
Because what else does life demand but love? It is the abundance that knows no ending. It is what we find when just moments before, we had found nothing.
So give us 30 days to love, and you will know our abundance, our unfolding.
Hi. Well, why do I support the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence? I'll tell you how the society enriches my life and why I contribute my energy and money. Fundamentally, I resonate with the 7 principles of Unitarianism, and it's nourishing to be in a community where others hold the same values. I find our own congregation to be one of compassion, curiosity, caring about important issues, and taking action in causes most salient to us. I first became involved in USNF because of the active social justice community, and especially because a strong core group of us were eager to focus on climate change activism. I love how people join together here to make real, tangible things happen, like divesting our portfolio from fossil fuels, writing stacks of postcards for USNF The Vote, providing sanctuary for Irida for a span of several years, and offering the Our Whole Lives sexuality curriculum, not just to our own members, but to families from the larger community. Through the alchemy of working together, we generate and carry out actions that we couldn't do alone, and that help satisfy our longing to make the world better. In addition to enjoying the strong social justice component of the Unitarian Society, I often feel moved and inspired by the Sunday services that offer me fresh perspectives on the whole range of human experiences, from the beautiful and wondrous to the painful and confusing. I frequently write down names of poets, authors, and composers that I want to learn more from. All of these are reasons why I value being part of this community, but the idea that made me think about contributing significantly more than I used to was something that John Gausted, one of our members, said at a Stewardship Sunday several years ago. He pointed out that there's no one besides us who keeps our USNF running. This hit a chord with me because I was once a member and manager of the Northampton Food Co-op on Market Street before it closed back in the 1980s. And I've been a member of the River Valley Co-op since before it opened. I've experienced the feeling of working together with others to create an institution that aligns with my values and is a valuable cornerstone in the community. The slogan, co-op, we own it, applies just as aptly to food co-ops as it does to our US UNSF. USNF. It is run by volunteers who step up to share the work of setting policy, hiring staff, coordinating our multitudinous activities, and much more. For the 2020 to 21 fiscal year, 99.7% of the money to fund everything we do here came this current year from all of you, or from investments made with foresight and generosity by our members in the past. We do not receive additional funding from the UUA or any other source. It is we who own this place and pay for everything we do. How does it make you feel to think of yourself as part owner of our society? For me, it really makes me feel personally invested, figuratively and literally, in making the work we do here the best it can be. I hope you will feel similarly inspired to contribute as generously as you are able. Thank you.
As we continue to celebrate and remember and to recall, although we celebrate a celebrated journey of individuals who endured many trials and tribulations, it is proper and befitting that we pause and reflect on those who were separated from their families, their mothers, their fathers, their kindred, many of them to never see them ever again in life. And through the heartbreak and disappointment of that separation, the songs that spoke to their spirit, that really embodied how they felt in that moment, were recorded. And we lift them today in memory of those individuals, those souls, those unsung heroes. Would you reflect with me on a familiar song? Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Page 97, singing the living tradition. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. A long way from home. From home alone. They took my baby from me. Lord, they took my baby from me. They took my baby from me. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long way from home. Well, a long way from home. From home. A long way from home.
In the midst of the hardest days, shaped by the most tedious of moments, when the heart breaks open and the spirit is weary, speak to me of love. When the earth cries out in despair under the weight of trash and debris, choking on poisonous plumes and darkened dust, speak to me of love. When bodies are rejected, dejected and subjugated by fear, misunderstanding, and a sheer lack of imagination, speak to me of love. When humanity is ensnared by virus deadly and individual rights are lauded as supreme, speak to me of love. When in a suspected and supposed democracy where all are equal and the ability to vote is a right, yet we make false idols of procedures and tainted halls for the pure sake of greed and contempt, speak to me then of love. When peoples of hues vast and varied, rich as the cosmos, are criminalized, brutalized, and theorized, speak to me then of love. In the midst of the hardest days, shaped by the most tedious of moments, when the heart breaks open and the spirit is weary, lament, dear ones, without apology, for this is all too much to bear. For what is love in a moment such as this? It is a force which drives and sustains us through wilderness valley to the mountaintop. It is the force behind the plow which gives forth abundant nutrients and sustenance. It is the force that rebuilds and makes things new. It is the force that shields us in truth and resiliency. Love indeed is an action. It is the reality of relationality, of mutuality. It calls us into a space of transformation betwixt and between, all while overcoming the teething, tearing desires for perfection. It is grace made known for all of us. Love, lament, and rebuild, dear one. For from the impossible to the real, to the here, to the now, to the love which binds the world together, may love be known here.
As we prepare to go to the sermon, we'd like to invite you to sing this wonderful hymn of the church, "There is More Love Somewhere." Indeed, we all have our responsibility to find that, to search that, to embrace it. So let us join together and sing this wonderful song found on page 95 in the Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. There is more love somewhere. I want to invite you and your homes, your families, to join us. Our families here, we're going to sing together. Join us today as we sing, "There is More Love Somewhere."
Don't stop till you find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm going to keep on until I find it. There is more love somewhere. The meaning, some would argue, is almost the same. Elder Henry sang, "Don't stop until you find it." It's the way I learned the song in my youth, in the churches that I attended. I'm going to keep on until I find it. That's the way I learned the song at Unitarian Universalist congregations. The message, though, is very clear. There is more love somewhere. We must continue on until we find that love. Because there is more love somewhere. It is not here, it is somewhere. And we must keep on. We must not give up. We must not give in. We must continue until we find it. It kind of reminds me of this tweet I saw by Joel Leon. He writes, "I never saw my mother walk on water, but I saw her wait for the bus in the snow to pay the rent." We define holy differently. And as a hospital chaplain resident, I have lots of time to think about what is holy and what is love. One of my favorite daily duties is joining my voice, thoughts, prayers, and intentions with those of my chaplain colleagues all over the world as we read the prayer requests that have accumulated in the prayer boxes stationed around the hospital from the night before. Some of these requests come from the same people, and we find ourselves transported to them in our daily conversation of lament and thanksgiving, while others are often scribbled and shoved into the box in hopes that something or someone can slow it down or make it stop. Something can shield them from impending doom, as if they are hoping that we chaplains have been equipped with a sort of prayer shield or maybe a love shield that can shield them and theirs from it. And as I make my rounds, I hear people searching for the holy in their hospital rooms when they plead for a cure for what afflicts them. And sometimes I hear people utter a prayer for the holy, for intervention, for help, right before they receive the news of a loved one's death. I see people experience a heaping portion of the holy as they come through horrendous accidents, astonished when they find that they are only a little worse for the wear. And of course, in those moments, everyone seems pretty clear that there's some type of something holy or big that just happened. And it is easy to see that something is holy when it defies what we think of as possible. However, love is holy. It is a holy act that occurs every day. It happens in ordinary encounters between strangers, between colleagues, between families and friends. And not just the romantic love of fairy tales, though there is something special and beautiful and holy in every love and every ever after. But I'm talking about the love that informs, that acts, that empowers, that invites. Love that encourages us to act for the betterment of the interdependent web of all.
Love is an action, says the Reverend Ali Casey Bell, and he means it. Is it a perfect action? Is it the only right action? Will it fix everything that's broken? No. Love doesn't show up that way. Chaplains know that. Reverend Ali knows that love does not show up in perfection, but in presence. And love is an action that is reciprocated indefinitely and without ending. Because we are imperfect and mortal, but our love is forever. That great-great-grandmother who held me once, the one I don't remember, save for the light-soaked sepia photo, I feel the love from her arthritic hands on my back. Even now when I conjure that image, it is the same love that flows through my imperfect hands when I reach out with wonder and presence, without ending Abraham Joshua Heschel, whose love, whose wonder, and whose presence, whose faith and history drew him to the work of the civil rights struggle with Reverend Dr. King. Heschel committed to King and to civil rights because that work for liberation was grounded in what he understood as the Hebrew scriptures that traced the exodus from Egypt, drawing attention all the while to the imperfection of the liberator, to the fear and the trembling of Moses, and to the trepidatious backsliding of the Israelites. Heschel committed to the work of liberation, knowing that no step, no action, none was perfect, but that every action on the side of liberation, every act of presence was itself a prayer, a brush with the holy, and love incarnate. I draw closest to Heschel's theology when I remember his testimony about our ego. He laughs at the way we mere humans think that we are the ones seeking the holy, but all the while it is the holy that is seeking us, that is waiting for us, present to us, imperfect us, vow-breaking, mess-making us. And all we need to do is, thank you, Heschel, all we need to do is allow ourselves to be found. My colleague was found by a pumpkin. Found by a pumpkin at one of the most powerful protest marches I've ever been on. We were rounding the streets of Edgewood, New Jersey, days after an unlawful, unjust, injurious arrest of Black Lives Matter leaders. We'd been marching to re-hallow the streets, to assert that no one would turn those leaders round. And my colleague was stopped by a person who presented her with a pumpkin. This is miles into the walk, and there was at least a mile to go, and pumpkins, they're heavy. But this pumpkin said, "Black Lives Matter," painted by a child's hand. It was the most improbable, imperfect gift. And that pumpkin was love overflowing. It was everything that you don't want to carry. But it was love's presence incarnate. We had been found by the holy, found by a pumpkin, imperfect offering, waiting for us, our imperfect selves, love without ending.
But what if we only had 30 days to love, or lament, or rebuild? What if we only had 30 days to love the world into the place that we know it could be? Now that seems like a tall order. It seems a bit overwhelming to consider even. In our Time for All Ages, we talked about how loving can be something that starts small and grows bigger. We talked about how loving is something that might even start at home. We talked about how loving is something we must do as humans. And that feels about right to me. And I don't know about you, but after recently moving to a new city, I can feel that in my bones. But how do I even begin to connect to places to make a difference? I don't know. You see, I often get caught up in my own stuff of looking too uninformed, or even worse, being too needy. I often feel really excited about finding connection in my local community and finding a way to get back into community, or finding a way to make the ache stop through action. You know the ache, right? That feeling When you read, listen, watch the news, and you are just immersed in the vastness of all that is unjust, all that is wrong, all that needs people to care, people who desire to bring forth change and to create change. Yet there often seems to not be enough resources, people, not enough care, not enough love. That pernicious cynicism can creep in and act as an immobilizer to my very real desire to act. Does that happen to you? In All About Love by Bell Hooks, she speaks of this cynicism as the great mask of the disappointed and betrayed heart. And when I read that, wow, it hit me so hard. Because boy, friends, I can feel that. And if we know anything, we know that as a country, we have all been betrayed by democracy, by the way we were founded as a country, by the way this country was set up at all. We know, for honest and for true, we have yet to have an election where all the people who should have had the right to vote have been able to cast a ballot to vote. We know that some voting districts are rigged to make sure that the right people win. We know this already. Yet we also know that in order to move our country to a place where there's a hope for fairness in our democratic process, we must act together. We have to move beyond our discomfort and connect. And now is the time to act. So, whether your aim is to reform the system, or whether your aim is to tear it down and start it over, there is a place for you in this cacophony of loving witness. The decision to side with justice in all of its forms is loving and holy. The decision to side with justice in all of its forms is loving and holy. We have to. And Bell Hooks invites us, she says, to begin by always thinking of love as an action rather than a feeling, she explains, is one way in which anyone using the word in this manner can automatically assume accountability and responsibility. Imagine an accountable and responsible way of loving. We are often, she continues to say, taught we have no control over our feelings, yet most of us accept that we choose our actions, that, she says, intention and will inform what we do. We also accept that our actions have consequences. And she's right. So, with that framework in mind, if we only had 30 days to love, we would have just enough time to make a real connection, just enough time to act, just enough time to look too eager, to be too cynical, to get disappointed, and to remember that our actions have consequences and we are accountable for them.
Love is an action. And as our dear departed Thich Nhat Hanh has shared, my actions are my only true belongings. Imagine that you only have 30 days to love. 30 days to act your love. That is not enough time to get it perfect. Barely enough time, even to attempt to get it right. And aren't those some of the most treacherous stumbling blocks that befall us, Unitarian Universalists, that befall me so incredibly? That seeking after perfection, that craving after getting it right, the right words, the best action, rather than getting active imperfectly because there is no other way than imperfectly when we are human. 30 days to love is plenty of time to let go of those impossibilities of perfect and always just right, and to let love find you. Plenty of time to be present to those who are aching, to scrawl your love on a pumpkin, to defend what you mean when you utter the prayer democracy. Plenty of time to offer your imperfect self for love's unfolding. Plenty of time to let the holy find you in your imperfection, in the work and in the action. Amen.
Dearest beloveds, I close as we began by inviting you to consider living as if you only had 30 days to love your life. 30 days to love this world of people, to love this earth. I invite you to love as the belated bell hooks suggested, with a knowing that, quote, love is really more of an interactive process. It's about what we do, not just what we feel. Love is a verb, not a noun. Live on the side of love.
Haven't we been blessed today by this wonderful service? Well, I want to invite you for a time of celebration as we create the beloved community, loving one another, love in action. Why don't you come and go to that land? What land? The land of freedom, the land of hope, the land of peace, a land where there's love and unity, a land that flows with milk and honey. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. This song, in the context of which it was produced, spoke of that land, a place where racism and sexism and all the isms that seem to divide and separate us were no longer existed. We walk together in the spirit of love and of unity, where one and one we continue to show God's love to each other, hand in hand, walking together. Come on. It's an open invitation. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Well, this song can be found at 10:18 in Singing the Journey. Why don't you celebrate with me? Come and go with me to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound. There is freedom in that land. There is freedom in that land. There is freedom in that land where I'm bound. Oh, there is freedom in that is justice in that land. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land where I'm bound. Hallelujah. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land where I'm bound. Well, and they'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Oh, they'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Hallelujah.
Now we have a chance to greet one another. You are welcome to turn on your videos, and you might want to switch to gallery view so you can see more of everybody's smiling faces. And I will read any messages that are posted in the chat.
Hi, everyone. That was so powerful.
Naomi says, wonderful service, very much needed. Thank you. Yes, it was an uplifting and encouraging service. Val and Michael say, wonderful, love the music so much. Joanna says, I love hearing from ministers from other places. That's one of the nice things about these UUA services. You get a bunch of different points of view from all over. Nancy says, loved the service. Music was wonderful. Message so clear and helpful.
No, why won't it start again? No, no, no.
Okay.
There, stop it. Now we're going to be seen.
Okay.
Oh, it looks.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Just a second. I'm going to